So this video is just going to outline and go into a little bit more detail the different fields that are available to us when we input inspections. So we are currently on the inspections page right now, and the information that's going to be populated here is going to tell you the inspection type, the reason we're here, whether it's a no access follow-up in this case, an annual, a re-inspection, third inspection, whatever the case is, why we're there. Scheduled date, who it's assigned to, and then this is where our blank fields and where we start inputting things comes into play. Our started box is right here. We can change the dates and times as we see fit. Same thing with our completed. As you click, it just auto-populates the date and time that you're doing things right then, and you just make the changes as you go. Completed by gives you a list of every company and person in the department that has access to OneStep. This comes into play where just because I'm the one doing the inputting doesn't necessarily mean I'm the one that completed the inspection. So when you're putting this information in here, even if you're inputting it, if Rodney Cordero did the inspection, he's the one that gets the credit for doing the inspection in OneStep. And the reason why that's important is because say we have a question about something, or we want to know exactly what the deficiency was, or kind of get some more information about the inspection, we know who to contact and who actually did the inspection. So the made contact box here is reserved for whether or not we made contact with the person responsible for the property. Whoever is responsible for making changes to the property or fixing fire code violations, that's who we're talking about here. If we just made contact with some worker or some occupant of the apartment building that let us in, we didn't really make contact. Because if we have deficiencies that are associated with the property and we did not make contact with them, fire prevention generates a computer generated report and sends it to the mailing address on file. So if you click yes and you didn't make contact with that person, what that's saying is that when you went out and did your inspection, you left the white copy of that inspection form with the person responsible for making the changes, so that way fire prevention doesn't have to generate a copy of the inspection. So that's what this box is for. The other box comes into play when you're doing vegetation inspections, really. That's where you've been putting in your 360-degree access and stuff like that. Where it really comes into play is more at the inspector level, because they have a bunch of different things that they'll use in here. But for us, it's really only for adding 360-degree accesses for vegetation inspections. Rescheduled is where you input a rescheduled date for non-compliant inspections. If you have an inspection that's compliant, you don't have to put a rescheduled date to schedule next year's inspection. It automatically does it. Anytime you add something in the rescheduled box, at 11 o'clock at night, OneStep generates the re-inspections that it's been assigned for that day. So if you generate a re-inspection right now, it's not going to show up until tomorrow morning. The result types is where you select whether it's compliant, non-compliant, facility closed, whether it's a blue tag, or if it's been referred to fire prevention. There's a lot of other options in here, but there's a list on the intranet of the acceptable fields that we can put in there. The reason why these are so important is because one of the other lists that's on there are the minimum fields that you have to input in order for a re-inspection or next year's annual inspection to generate and the invoice be generated to the business. If you don't select the right result type or have the right occupancy status, it's not going to do that. So make sure as you're doing your inspections, you're checking those minimum required fields to make sure you're inputting the data correctly. So that's kind of the overview of what goes on in this area. Hours should be auto-populated when you put it in here, but if it doesn't, you just add 0.5 or however long it took you to do the inspection. Under comments, this is a section where we can leave comments that's only visible to the users. When they print out inspection results and send them to the businesses, that field doesn't show up in their inspection. It's just something where if you made changes to something, or you want to leave, you just want to leave some information for other users to see when they come in, that's where you type it in. The sign by field is more when it's used in a tablet format. That's a section where they'll use one of the pens and sign right on the tablet. But until we get those, that field can just be left blank. So these are just some of the fields that just kind of give you a little bit more background about the fields that you'll see in the inspection page.